This is an Infatuasian side dish, a smaller version of our normal pod where we talk about Asian things we love. This is Curtis, and on today's mini-episode, we're going to be talking about the past and present of Asians in baseball. All right, hey everyone, how's it going out there? Welcome to side dish number 4. On today's episode, we're going to take a little break from Eternals, give people a chance to get to the theater and watch it before we spoil it on next week's podcast. So today we're doing a little episode on baseball. I know, we were just talking about this. May not be everyone's favorite, but we love it, so we're going to talk about it. I'm sure some of you do out there. My favorite team is the San Francisco Giants, of course, so this might be a little biased, though we might have to talk about a couple Dodgers and a couple Angels and Yankees here and there, but it's my favorite sport to watch professionally. And I know I'm not alone. There are tons of people out there, not just in America, but all over the world, so that's why baseball is popular amongst Asians and whatnot. So that kind of gave me the idea to do this episode, because one of the reasons we are talking about it right now is because we're in the World Series. And so we're waiting to see Game 6. Unfortunately, the San Francisco Giants are not in this World Series, but it's going along. So I need someone to talk with me about this. So coming along for the ride today is longtime friend and even longer baseball fan. We have Joesten. Welcome, Joesten.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on a podcast. Yeah, but why is this called a side dish? Isn't it the main dish? I mean, what's your demographic for this podcast anyways?
Yeah, well, okay, so the side dish doesn't mean the topic is not important. What it means is normally we do 2 episodes per topic. So, like, for example, we do a K-drama one. We'll do 2 weeks on it. And I think we could have talked for 2 weeks on baseball, but I was afraid we might lose people, so we're only going to do 1 week on this topic, but we'll see.
Well, and I'm a lot older than you. I mean, it's baseball's getting a reputation for being an older sport now, so It's a little discouraging sometimes.
Well, this year was kind of good because the team was good, so, I work with high schoolers, so some of them were getting into it again. It brought back some memories of the 2010s, a little bit around the Bay Area where baseball was good for us, but well, I turned 50 this year, Joesten, so I'm in the club. So
you're getting the AARP mailers, and
you know it. I'm getting it like monthly. I'm getting the invitation and my membership cards. Yeah, so I hope it doesn't die out, but I know it's died a little bit with younger folks, but yeah, I think there's still some kids who love it, so hopefully we don't lose everyone in this podcast.
I hope not.
All right, so if you're out there and you don't love baseball, hopefully we'll entertain you, at least with our chatter on it. We may get into some stats here and there, and we may explain it here and there, but we may just, if it goes over your head, sorry about that. But baseball is a game of stats, which is one of the reasons we love it. And it's also a game of history, a long history, over 100 years of history. And that's why a lot of people love it, because the stats go way back, and it's just kind of fun to look at these numbers. I had a good time doing some research for this, so hopefully you out there will enjoy it as well. But let's do a question for you, Joesten, just to get the audience familiar with you a little bit. How did you get into baseball? Watching or playing or whatnot?
Well, it's pretty typical. I mean, my dad introduced me to sports and baseball in particular. He came over from China in the late 50s to San Francisco, and that's when the San Francisco Giants moved in, right? And so he never really talked about it, but I'm pretty sure he got caught up in the enthusiasm of the team coming from New York to San Francisco. And you probably, as a Giants fan, you probably seen pictures of the parade with Willie Mays and the entrance, and he talked about going to Seals Stadium to watch a game. So anyways, I get born a little bit later, of course, and I grew up in the early 70s, and baseball was still the most popular sport back then. Well, you hit 50, so you remember the world before computers and video games took over and video on demand. Back when I was growing up, you couldn't even watch TV. I mean, you had to shared TV among the entire family. There's like 3 channels, and that was it. So you had to go out and play, right? And my dad, being a good dad, he'd take us out to the park, and actually, it's funny because baseball, you would think, is still the easiest game for a small 5-year-old, 6-year-old like myself to pick up, right? You get a first grader, you go out and you get that guy trying to, or girl, trying to hit a free throw. It's actually pretty difficult. You go to elementary school and the hoops are still regulation size, but one of the first motor skills that you teach your kid is to throw a ball and catch a ball. And the baseball is the smallest ball, it's the cheapest ball, and so we would play catch.
Yeah.
No,
I totally remember that. Yeah, just playing on the blacktop with a tennis ball. We had a little bat, or sometimes you use a wiffle ball and a wiffle bat. But yeah, and the thing about baseball in the city back then was you could get a ticket to Candlestick Park for $1, $2.
Or you jump the fence. Not to say that I did that, but
it could be done.
It could be done.
Yeah, one of my favorite memories was, they'd have bat day or helmet day, and my dad would get us a ticket for the bleachers for $1 or $2, and we'd go in and we'd sit down, and then he'd give me another $2, and I'd go out and buy another ticket so I can get another helmet.
Right. Well, $2 was quite a bit of money back then, but yeah. My first game, and of course this is Candlestick. I know because I think they eliminated bat days.
Right.
The last ones were. Right, that was a real bat. I mean, it was real wood, right?
Yeah, 32 inches.
I don't think it was cheap, but my first game. And fortunately, the Giants were actually good in the early 70s. They made the playoffs. Yeah, for young people, you see the statues outside of, I guess it's called Oracle Park now, right? You got Willie Mays out there, and you got Juan Marichal, and you see these statues, but. I was young enough to actually see them play in person. Mm-hmm. And so my first game, I remember it, I think it was 1970. It was, of course, being Asian dad, right? You're cheap. So you're looking for the best value. They had things called double headers back then.
Right.
2 games for 1.
Yeah. None of this day-night stuff, too. You just stay all day.
You just stay, yeah. It starts at noon on a Sunday, and you just stay until, the games were a lot quicker back then. So we were out of there at 5:30, I believe, and it was a doubleheader. And I remember I could tell you exactly everybody in the starting lineup without a doubt. And 2 Hall of Famers, starting pitchers for the Giants: Juan Marichal, who was my early hero, and Gaylord Perry.
Wow!
And of course, we lost both games.
That was typical. They had some good years, but they had a lot of bad years too.
Well, baseball is a humbling sport, and that's one of the things I really appreciate about it. I mean, it especially with those early Giants in the 70s who were not very good. Let's be real about that. It teaches you how to lose, actually. Like they say, the best hitters fail 70% of the time.
Yeah.
So there's that. But what you talked about, that history. I mean, for me, baseball is just one of these things where you connect generations. I mean, it has the longest history. It feels like the sport hasn't really changed, since the 20s or 30s. I mean, you can still recognize it, and
the essence of it.
Yeah, and the numbers kind of help it. It kind of, even though we can debate and talk about how many home runs so and so hit and so on and so forth. It really helps connect different generations together. So that's what I love about it.
Yeah, no, and you're a numbers guy, right? You like the numbers.
Well, Asians love numbers. I mean, statistics. I mean, my major in college was math and statistics, so it's trained early in life.
And now it's bigger. It's the bigger part of the game than ever right now with sabermetrics and all the numbers, and maybe to a fault. It's debatable, but but it is interesting. I mean, to get a bunch of nerds in the front office making decisions now, not necessarily baseball guys by training, but more like math and data guys making some decisions. It's interesting times right now, even here in the Giants.
Absolutely.
So, you got a favorite baseball memory?
Well, I think we have have a shared memory here, but I know
But mine was on TV.
Yours was on TV. You want to talk about that now? I mean,
no. You want to? Yeah. Why don't you jump in with your story? I think it's a cool story.
Okay, so might as well, since we're going to lose the audience anyways, might as well talk about the best stuff.
They're already gone, Justin. We lost them 3 minutes ago.
If you're thinking about Asians, especially with San Francisco Giants, the one name that definitely pops up is Travis Ishikawa. And of course, it's around now. I mean, about a week or two ago was the anniversary of the Travis Ishikawa
7 years ago
walk-off home run, Game 5, the National League Championship Series. I had the privilege of going to that game. I actually went to Game 4 and Game 5. And so I mixed them both up because I think Game 4 was also a sensational game. Who was it? Who was that guy in the Cardinals, that the left-handed sidearmer, Pat Neshek or something like that?
That guy.
Yeah, he kind of got the brunt of it. He didn't have a very good series there for Game 4 and Game 5. But Game 5,
but during the season, he was unhittable though. He was untouchable.
Right. You might actually remember more of the details of Game 5. I'm starting to lose it a little bit because the highlight, of course, was Ishikawa coming up. Right. I think the game was tied.
Yeah, I think it was tied.
Yeah, I don't think we were down. We were tied. I remember Mike Moore sitting a home run too in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're sitting there, and Ishikawa comes up, and the stadium's going crazy. Of course, I mean it's like loud. I'm sitting upstairs, in the value seats in the right field. So, and my wife was with me, and two very good friends that I invited, who owe me big time, by the way, because I brought them to the game on me. But so I had 4 tickets. We sat up there. At least they gave me a sandwich. But we're sitting up there. Ishikawa comes up, and then boom, all the way right field. And I'm looking at it. As soon as he hit it, it was enough to score the run. Right. All we needed was a sacrifice fly.
Yeah.
Right. The sacrifice fly, the game's over. Right. But the ball
is bottomed out.
The ball sails over the fence. The crowd is going crazy. The fireworks start going off, and the team comes out and just pours out in the field, jumping up and down. I mean, there's nothing more exciting than a walk-off.
At home.
Walk-off win at home, and that was great.
Now the stretch. Here it comes. Swinging. There's a drive deep into right field, way back there. Goodbye! A home run for the game and for the pennant. The Giants have won the pennant, and Travis Ishikawa is being clobbered by his teammates as he comes down the third base line, and he is mobbed at home plate. Travis Ishikawa with the Bobby Thompson moment. A walk-off home run to win the National League pennant for the unlikely Giants left fielder for the biggest games here in 2014.
And just a little background for people who don't know, I wouldn't surprise me if you don't know who Travis Ishikawa is if you're not a Giants fan. But Japanese American, he's Hapa, I think he's half. Kind of a nobody. Like he'd been with the team before, and he's kind of a good defensive first baseman, not known for his hitting per se. One of the more unlikely heroes of a baseball team. Like people didn't have high hopes because there are two men on, I think, in that inning.
Well, I mean, if you remember Bochy, who's I know we have to educate the non-baseball fans out here. Bruce Bochy was the manager of the San Francisco Giants, but he puts Travis Ishikawa in left field that series, right? And that was something that he was not very good at.
Yeah,
right. That's how desperate the Giants were for, I guess, left-handed bats, right? They had to put Travis out there, but he has a real good underdog story. Right, as you say, I mean, he was what you call a 4A player, right? Just
right.
Too good for minor leagues, but not quite good enough to stick in the major leagues.
Yeah,
and he had a lot of struggles. So and what was special about him is he was kind of spent a lot of time in the Bay Area as well.
Yeah, and he wasn't a kid, he's 30-something probably at that time, right? And so he'd traveled around and played in the minor leagues for a long time.
So to double down on that memory, I had the double privilege of being able to meet Travis Ishikawa in person right after the World Series. And a big shout out to my buddies, Dino Piazza in particular, over at Coliseum Pizza in Milpitas. So I was a regular at this pizza parlor. It's really close to where I work. And I just on a chance, I go to the pizza parlor for lunch, and Dino sets me aside. Hey, I know you're a big San Francisco Giants fan. If you come back later tonight, Travis Ishikawa is coming. And I'm going, wait a minute. Travis Ishikawa, I just saw him in Game 7 of the World Series. This is before the parade occurs, right? So I'm thinking he's still in Kansas City, and Dino's a real good guy, so I trust him. We got to be, friendly. Turns out that his ex-wife, well, it was his wife at the time, worked at the same hair salon in San Jose as Travis Ishikawa's wife, right? Travis spent a lot of time with San Jose Giants, apparently.
Right.
And,
yeah.
And he met his wife in a hair parlor or something along those lines. I don't know where they met. Maybe I've gotten those. Maybe I've embellished that. But anyways, so I ditched my carpool partner, and I knew it was going to take me about 3 hours of time to get back from San Jose to San Francisco on public transportation. But I had to get a chance to meet Travis Ishikawa. So we had no idea when he was going to come. It could be that he stood us up. So I'm sitting there by myself like a dummy for like about an hour at the pizza parlor. And sure enough, here he comes. Travis Ishikawa comes in.
Man.
And he looks dead tired because he was just on a flight, from Kansas City.
Just a red eye.
And he loved the pizza. That's why he wanted to go there. And I have a picture with him. And I asked him, straight up, Travis, do you think that ball was going over the fence? And he said, nah, I didn't think so. He was surprised. He was as surprised as anybody that went over the fence or over the wall.
That is such a good story. And do you remember they were telling some stories about them in the outfield, and Hunter Pence came over to him, like they got the third out in the top of the ninth, and I think Hunter Pence said something to Travis like, "You're going to do something like that." Maybe it's apocryphal now, maybe it's just like a legendary story, but I think he said something that Hunter Pence pepped him up. Like, you're going to come up this inning and something's going to happen, like get your head ready for something big.
It wouldn't surprise me. That's definitely a Hunter Pence type of thing, right?
Yeah.
He's always, he's probably always looking ahead and seeing who's going to be coming up and giving them a pep talk. He probably does that every game.
Yeah. We all need a Hunter Pence in our life, man. We need.
Yeah, no kidding.
We need a preacher. Yeah. All right, cool story, man. That's a double cool story. But yeah, so we are just kind of hanging out, waiting for Game 6 of the World Series, and this is also award season, so that's why this kind of came to mind to do this podcast during World Series, also during the award season, because I'm sure you've all heard the name Shohei Ohtani. He is poised, I think is a lock, right, for AL
He's
MVP.
A lock. He's got to be a lock.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is. Japanese-born player Shohei Ohtani will probably get the American League MVP, Most Valuable Player, in a week or two, probably right when this podcast comes out. So that'll be a big deal, and we'll talk about why a little later in this podcast. But he is amazing and he is unique, and so I wanted to do an episode on Asians in baseball, and I didn't know that. I didn't know that this went so far back. Japanese players in America. I didn't know how far this went back. And we'll get into the history a little later. So hopefully you'll learn a little something here, because I learned a lot by just doing the research for this. Okay, so we're talking about Asian in baseball. So we'll mention, Travis Ishikawa, Asian American. Shohei Ohtani, Asian-born Japanese player in America. But first, Let's do a little trivia. And I didn't have the answers here, Justin, so you're going to have to work a little bit for these.
Thanks.
All right, so don't worry. We're not trying to embarrass anyone out there, so we are just trying to have fun. All right, question number 1. Audience, play along. Audience, if you're out there, play along. All right, so most people cite that Masanori Murakami was the first Asian-born player to play in the MLB, and it was for our San Francisco Giants. Do you know what year that was? What year did Masanori Murakami play for the SF Giants? Give the audience time to think. What do you think, Justin? You got a guess?
The late 60s, so let me go with 1967.
Ooh, you're close.
Oh.
A little earlier than that, 1964.
Okay.
So they had been here for about 10 years. Giants have been here for about 10 years on the West Coast. 64, that's earlier than I would have thought, too. Because we didn't see another Asian for years and years. So that was quite early. There's a funny story I will share his story later. He has a really interesting story. All right, and there's actually an alternate answer to that I'll get to when we get to our Asians Being Awesome segment. But, okay, question number 2. You're real close on that one. I'll give you a B+ on that one, Justin. You're real close. All right, so this one may seem obvious, but it may not be an obvious answer. Which Asian-born player has the most career home runs in the MLB?
The most career home runs, Asian.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So not including the Japan numbers.
Right. Okay, well, let's see. I want to say it's a power hitter.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe steroid era. I'm going to go with Hideki Matsui.
That would have been my guess, but it's not.
No.
Korean-born Shin-Soo Choo. 218. Wow. Yeah, he's not a flashy player that jumps out at you like, oh man, that's a power hitter. But he had a long career. He had a longer career than Matsui. 218. Matsui hit 176. Of course, he hit more in Japan too if you added all that up together.
Right.
And Ichiro 117. So Shin-Soo. I thought he would have been a good Giant. I thought he would have been someone that we could have gotten to play out in the field, because he's not a pure power hitter. But anyway, we'll talk a little bit more about him, but he was real good. And he just retired, right? Is he still playing, or is he?
I don't know. I mean, he spent so much time in the American League. I spend a lot more time in the National League with the Giants.
We don't see him.
We don't see him that much.
Yeah, but that was a shocker to me. I just learned that, too, because I would have guessed Hideki Matsui easily. But, yeah. All right. This is another maybe tricky question. Ichiro Suzuki has the most stolen bases by any Asian-born player with 509, and those are only the ones in America. Do you know who has the second most with 243?
243. Okay.
That's a big number.
Yeah, it is. Okay. 243.
This is kind of a trick question, too.
Trick question? All right. Well,
he's a manager in the MLB right now.
Hint, I'm a manager in the MLB. Asian?
Maybe half Asian.
No.
The team we hate, Justin.
Oh, Dave Roberts.
yeah, I know, right? You wouldn't think Dave Roberts is Asian, but he's born in Japan. Japanese mother. But yeah, 243. So he had a good career. I don't know. I actually didn't know he was Asian for a long time, and then yeah, he's still in the league as a manager. A guy we love to hate, even though he played for the Giants. A guy we love to hate around here.
Yeah.
But 243. Well, that was tricky. I tricked you too many times on that one, but you gave it a good effort, Justin.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to do a little history. I think this is super fascinating, and I think you're going to like this trivia too because this is super fascinating, and it has a Bay Area connection.
Okay.
We're going to talk about an honorary. Asians Being Awesome. So we do this segment in our podcast called Asians Being Awesome, where we talk about Asian Americans who we think are awesome, that have something to do with the topic that we're talking about. And so today we have an honorary Asian Being Awesome because he's not actually Asian. We mentioned that Masanori Murakami is the first person that most people think of as the first Asian-born player in the MLB. But that's not 100% true because he is the first Asian-born player in the MLB, but not the first Asian-born player because Harry Kingman, born in Tianjin, China, 1892. He played for a year for the New York Yankees in 1914. Does being born in China make you Asian? I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
if you're born in America, you're American, right?
Right? Right? He wasn't a Chinese citizen, so I don't know. It's a little gray.
I'm going to say that maybe his first language is Chinese.
I think it was. It could have been. Yeah, it definitely one of his first languages, maybe second, but he probably knew Chinese. And he's a cool dude, too. So I want to talk about him. We're going to give him honorary Asian status. So Harry Kingman, born in Tianjin to two American missionaries. So they were missionaries over there in China. But in 1899, his dad became chaplain at Pomona College. And Harry Kingman went to that college and was a 5-sport athlete. And he actually got a minor league contract with the Washington Senators. Mm. And then he made it to the Yankees for one season, and they call it, he came up for a cup of coffee. That's kind of the slang for a kid who makes it to a professional team for such a short amount of time, he doesn't really make a difference. But he played for the Yankees. And then, and you'll like this, he came back to California after baseball, and started working at Stiles Hall, formerly the Berkeley YMCA, at the University of California, Berkeley.
That's my alma mater. Go Bears.
Alma mater, yep. So then he became a missionary in Japan and China and came back to Berkeley in 1927, and he founded the Berkeley Student Cooperative, the co-op, in 1933. So he was one of the guys who founded that, and if you don't know what the Berkeley Student Co-op is they fight discrimination against housing for students of all different backgrounds, and so he really fought for kids to get housing regardless of race, creed, or color, or national origin. This is 1933. So, and they're still around, right?
Yeah.
The co-op's still there. And so he really worked hard to fight against discrimination. And for 24 years, he worked at Stiles Hall. And during World War II, it is said that he and his wife helped dozens of Japanese American students escape internment by relocating them to schools in other parts of the country.
Wow.
So there were Japanese students out here on the West Coast, and if you don't know your history, if you were on the West Coast, you got sent to Colorado or Utah, you got sent somewhere else to basically be in a prison camp. And so he convinced these Japanese American students to go to other schools so that they wouldn't be interned, which is pretty cool. Then after he retired from Stiles Hall, he went to Washington, D.C., and was an anti-discrimination lobbyist. And then he moved back to Oakland, and he died in 1982 at the age of 90. But Harry Kingman, Asian being awesome. He's got a cool life.
He's got to have his name on some kind of building in Berkeley. I got to go to the campus and do a little treasure hunt for that.
Yeah, for sure at Stiles Hall, there'd be some record of him. But yeah, played for the Yankees for a little bit.
Right. I have a lot of time on my hands now that I'm retired. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go out to Berkeley, go check out the campus. It's probably a little bit quieter than normal. And, look for Harry Kingman's name.
All right. Snap a picture for me. Send it to the podcast. We'll put it on the Instagram. All right. So let's talk about this. We're going to talk about some Asian players in baseball. And so we have this history going back to 1964, but it really ramped up in the 90s and 2000s. And most of the players came from 3 countries, unless I'm wrong, unless you can think of someone else. But Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan. Those are the 3 that I can think of mostly.
Yeah, pretty much.
There was, we'll talk about Bruce Chen later, but yeah. So there are so many names, and we could have filled 2 hours talking about all these different baseball, especially the Japanese players. But let's talk a little bit about the history, and it goes back to 1934 in Japan. So let's talk about Japan a little bit because a majority, I think it's over 60 players have come from Japan. Maybe about a dozen from Korea, and maybe 10 from Taiwan. But Japan has the most notable ones that I can think of. And so how did baseball in Japan grow? And so I did a little research and found out that 1934, but there was a guy named, I'm going to butcher the Japanese here, so bear with me. So Matsutaro Shoriki was a rich guy in Japan. He had a lot of different media connections and had a lot of money. And so in 1934, he started what was called the Dai Nippon Tokyo Yakyu Kurabu, which stands for the Great Japan Tokyo Baseball Club. A little bit of a mouthful. He set it up, and they actually had some American All-Stars come visit. People like Babe Ruth, Jimmy Fox, Lou Gehrig, like the big names. And I didn't know this, but Babe Ruth had quite a following in Japan. He was really popular. Like, he really was popular with the Japanese fans. And so this all-star team from America came and played against this early Japanese league. And they modeled the league after the MLB. You know, they have kind of a Japan series, and it's about the same schedule. I think they play a different number of games. But other than that, it's pretty similar. The rules are almost exactly the same. The one difference is they can end in a tie. Their games can end in a tie, which is kind of different. All the way up to the Japan series, their version of the World Series. But other than that, pretty much the same. And then they flew a team out to America in 1935, and they were playing against Pacific Coast League and other minor league teams in America. And they did quite well. They won 93 out of 102 games. They kind of ran into this problem. Like, I just had trouble stumbling over the name of the league and the team, so then they changed their name to the Tokyo Giants. And they're still there. The Yomiuri Giants are still there, and the same colors and the same basic uniforms, black and orange, as the New York Giants.
It's the exact same font on the uniforms.
Yeah. So it's really cool. I got a hat. I had a friend in Japan bring me a hat. So that was kind of the start of it in Japan, pre-World War II. And so I heard this legend that at the end of World War II, the Americans were thinking about having Babe Ruth broadcast on the radio to try to convince Japan to surrender, because they were just holding on, and they were like, well, Babe Ruth is such a revered figure in Japan, they were going to have him on the radio saying, you don't have to keep going, blah, blah, blah. We can end this right now. And he didn't do it, but they were thinking about that. That was a legend I heard. So, all right, little baseball history in Japan. And the league's thriving. The sport is the most popular in Japan, I think. High school athletes, their high school championships are in huge stadiums with like 40,000 people for high school. So it's kind of like Friday Night Lights here in Texas, not here in Texas, over in Texas, but it's high school baseball in Japan. Such a big deal. And the kids, it's like so traumatic when they lose. They're all crying. It's a big deal. It's celebrities flying. It's a huge deal over there. So that's one of the reasons they have such a good professional league, is because they take it real seriously over there from an early age. Probably more than we do here in America, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I had the privilege of going to Tokyo and see about 10 years ago. I have to look back. Major League Baseball had their official opening game between the Oakland A's and the Mariners in Tokyo. And so, I told the family, hey, guess where we're going for spring vacation this year? We're going to Tokyo. And they go, great. Everybody loves going to Japan. If you've never been there, I would definitely highly recommend it. But my ulterior motive was to go to the Tokyo Dome for baseball, and it's fantastic. It's the same game. And Ichiro was part of the Mariners, and he was getting to the tail end of his career at that point. And so there was very much a vibe of, this is like a Hall of Fame, like a farewell type of environment. I mean, huge publicity while we were in Japan. Or maybe that is the only news that I could understand, because it was semi in English. But I got tickets to go to the game, And if you ever go to the Tokyo Dome, it's very 70s baseball because it's under a dome and they have like artificial turf. And there's a wonderful Japanese baseball museum there, which I wish was translated more into English. But you could see the Sadaharu, and there was a lot of displays about him and a bunch of other Japanese Hall of Fame type of players who I kind of knew of, but the names escape me a little bit right now. But there are a couple of things, I mean, that when you sit in the stands, one of the things that shocked me is that they have hard liquor at the game. And they also have these, they call them, well, in Japanese, I'm sure it's called something else, but we'll call them the beer girls.
Right.
The girls, and
they're models basically, right?
Well, they're obviously handpicked to appeal to the male crowd. And they have to like wear these like basically backpacks. And then in the Giants games, you've seen these guys with the hot chocolate, and it's a big old like keg that they have to like hang on their back. And so these young girls have got kegs, soft kegs of beer, walking up and down the aisles and selling beer straight out of the keg. And so, and they had cheerleaders, so it was interesting. It was a great experience.
People are into it. Yeah, they're into it the whole game long, like the cheers and the chants and the songs. They all sing songs together.
Yeah, it's different than, like San Francisco Giants fans, as you know, we're too cool for school, right? We don't get we don't get into the wave, the whole collective being part of a crowd and doing the same thing. That's really not for Giants fans, right? It's like don't bother meet the wave. But in Japan, right, if you do a wave, everybody gets excited about it, and there's cheerleaders that are egging this on, and everybody's in the same colors, and so it's shows you a little bit different the culture between an Asian crowd and an American crowd.
All right, well, gotta break it to the family. We might be doing a little summer trip to Japan one of these years. Add that to the list of things to do in Tokyo. That sounds really fun. All right, let's get into a couple players here. Now, again, I hope we don't lose every single person out there, but we're going to talk about a couple pitchers and maybe a couple position players. Let's start with the pitchers. I'm going to let you go first, Joesten. You pick a player to kind of discuss off the top of your head, or you can use the internet. Up to you. What do you want to do?
Well, there, as you said, there was, when I was growing up, there was hardly any Asian in baseball, and I think part of it was that you just weren't allowed to get out of your Japanese contract in the 70s and 80s and come over and play Major League Baseball. But the guy that, and I hate the fact that it's the Dodgers, right? Murakami is a Giant, right? We have Asian population here, in San Francisco, but there's no doubt in Japan and in Korea. LA is a lot more popular in San Francisco. It's adds to the rivalry. But shout out to Hideo Nomo. Hideo Nomo was the first guy who was good, and I really think kind of broke the dam and opened the floodgates. So Asian, Japanese players, Korean players, Taiwanese players coming into Major League Baseball.
Well, and pitching for the Dodgers tonight, Hideo Nomo, last year's Rookie of the Year with a 13-6 mark, a 2.54 ERA, led the National League in strikeouts with 236.
And the strikeout is the third for Nomo.
When he pauses at the top, like right there, see? That's where you got to get another like swing in or something like that, and CJ goes down.
ネットワークの中に流してもらっていますけれども、2エンド2。さあ、野茂英雄。振りかぶって、2エンド2から、空振り、三振、2アウト。
Well, they're loving it in Japan. That's 9 strikeouts. Struck him out. That is a new mark for Nomo, 17. A magnificent performance for Hideo Nomo.
it helped that he was with the Dodgers, helped that he was good. He had a little bit of a funky delivery too, and so you got that mini celebrity status, and the Dodgers did I guess reached out globally a little bit better than the San Francisco Giants. You had Fernando for a while to get the Mexican crowd, and then Hideo Nomo coming in.
Yeah. The tornado delivery. His arms are straight up, spins backwards, right? Real funky.
Yeah, well, I'm going to give you a trivia question first, since all right. I did my research.
Fair play.
I did my research.
All right.
Which Asian starting pitcher had the most wins, or has the most wins?
Most wins.
Yeah. We just talked about Hideo Nomo, so might be a little bit of giveaway.
I don't know. It had to be someone with a long career, right?
Yep.
See, I've got a couple. I did a little research on. I'm gonna go Bruce Chen.
Bruce Chen. No, I don't think so. I think it's still Chan Ho Park.
Really? He was
Chan Ho was actually with the Dodgers before Hideo Nomo. So they signed Chan Ho Park out of high school in Korea. They just plucked him out of high school, and he was in the minor leagues for a while. So he wasn't under contract. That was the key. He actually made his major league debut before Hideo Nomo. Yeah, like one of those September call-ups. And he kind of went under the radar because I think he was only an all-star once, and he definitely loved LA, like all Koreans do. So I hear, and but that was a time in the 2000s where if you were good and you got to free agency, well, money talks. So he ended up over in the Texas Ranger organization. And so when you string along all the years that he was pitching, Chan Ho
17 years. Yeah, 17
Chan Ho
years.
Park, I believe, actually still leads the Asians in Major League Baseball win total.
124. That's a big number.
So good for Chan Ho.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. 1994. But he didn't really pitch until 96.
Yeah. Yeah, so Hideo Nomo definitely stole his thunder because he was good from the get-go.
Yeah.
But, for a while there.
But you're right.
For a while there, both of them were good.
4 innings in 1994.
But for a while there, both of them were really good.
Yeah, and the Dodgers were good, so... Yeah. Okay, good fun fact. All right. I'm going to go... Let me see. Who do I want to go with here? I'm going to go... Well, since I mentioned him, I'm going to go with Bruce Chen. Interesting story on this guy. I thought he was Taiwanese when I heard of him, but he was actually born to Chinese parents in Panama in 1977. Younger than us.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought he was like a long time. I thought it was a long time ago. But he born in Panama, so he speaks Spanish and came up to the MLB, and he played for 17 seasons. Another long career. Nothing super flashy. His ending numbers were 82 and 81. 82 wins and 81 losses, so just one game over 500, meaning that he won one more game than he lost. Nothing super amazing. Like, he didn't win 20 games or he didn't strike out a ton of people. But he was good enough to make 11 MLB teams. I can't even name them all. But, so 17 seasons. He played for both Panama and China's World Baseball Classic teams, which is kind of cool. And he's got some roles. I forget who he's with right now, but he's got some roles in doing kind of diversity stuff for MLB. He still works for them. And he's doing work because he speaks Spanish and Chinese. So I think he is able to kind of be an ambassador for the sport in China as well as in Latin America. So I like him. So and he could be a cousin of mine. So I'm going to give a shout out to Bruce Chen, 17 seasons, Chinese, born in Panama.
Definitely very solid guy. Well, the one guy I do remember who was Asian American. So there was like we were talking about. I mean, when I was growing up in the 70s, I would say there were hardly any Asians, but there was one. There actually was one when I was growing up, and that guy's name was Mike Lum, right? My last name is Lim, so Lim, that's the same name. It really, right? For all you agents out there, it's the same name. And Mike Lum was born in Hawaii, and he was a first baseman for the Atlanta Braves. And back in the 70s, you needed a lot of power from your first baseman. That wasn't Mike Lum. Mike Lum, right? You had Willie McCovey. He was hitting 40 home runs a year or 30 plus. Guys like Boog Powell and who else was out there? Big fat guys they would put out, and Willie Stargell comes to mind, right? The guys who can't really move that well, so they put him in first base because you didn't really need to move. And but you were expected to hit like 40 something home runs. But Mike Lum, if you ever looked at him, play, it's kind of like a what's the guy in Tampa Bay, G-Man Choi? You don't really think of him getting big hits. He doesn't really, not a big home run, but he would spray those doubles. He was a good hitter. You had to be a good hitter to play first base, because there's some big fat guy ready to take your job. And he stuck around for a while, and Mike Lum was, I think, probably one of two Asian Americans that I can remember in the 70s.
Now, did you notice him because he was a Lum? That was
absolutely. Well, not only that, but he was Chinese, basically. He's Chinese.
Right.
I would think he's Chinese, Hawaiian. And Lim, like I said, it's the same name. But back then they didn't have any interviews, right? You don't have Twitter. You don't have so I don't really know what kind of personality he has, especially playing out in Atlanta. But shout out to Mike Lum. Mike Lum was. I wish I could have seen him play a little bit more. Probably would have.
Yeah, maybe there's some stuff on YouTube. You might have to dig around a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna end this here. Well, we could talk about Masanori, but he wasn't that good. He actually wasn't really that good, but he was the first. 1964. We talked about him a little bit. Funny story is that he actually was able to stay here in America because they sent him over to America kind of as an ambassador to kind of train with the minor leagues and hang out with the spring training with the Giants. And then his team in Japan forgot to call him back. They left him there, and so he played for a season with the Giants because he was just there. So they played him a little bit, and he's a pitcher, and he pitched for a whole season. And then the Japanese team, the Hawks, said, "We want him back." And the Giants said, "No, actually, we want to keep him too." And then so they had to bring in the Japanese baseball commissioner, and he said, "Okay, well, he needs to go back to the Hawks because he's under contract with them. But because you kind of left him here, he gets to play one more season with the Giants." So he played another season with the Giants. That was the compromise that he came up with. And he appeared in 45 games total. He went 4-1. 3.75 ERA, which stands for earned run average, meaning that for every 9 innings he pitched, he allowed 3 3/4 of a run. Not bad. 85 strikeouts, 22 walks. Yeah. But he actually came back and worked for the Giants for a little bit, and now he's a commentator. So he does baseball on the radio in Japan. He also does a little writing. But I wanted to talk about our guy, the freak. Big time Timmy Jim. We're talking about Tim Lincecum, who is half Filipino. A lot of people don't know that, but his mom is Filipino because his mom's kind of out of the picture. She's not really in his life, but she's Filipino. So Tim Lincecum is half Filipino, and if you are a Giants fan in the 2000s, he's your guy.
Absolutely.
Right? he kind of started the whole, Matt Cain was there, but he's kind of boring, right?
Timmy the Kid. Without Timmy the Kid, we don't get that 2010 World Series. No way.
Yeah, he's legendary. He burned bright for about 4 years. Like that hurts his chances for the Hall of Fame. But for 4 years, he put up some amazing numbers. He got the Cy Young twice. His first season, second full season in 2008. He goes 18-5. ERA is 2.662, which is really, really good. He struck out 265 batters in 227 innings, which is anytime you can strike out more than one an inning, you're doing something right. So he was a Cy Young and an All-Star. Followed it up by a 2009 season, which is almost as good. Also got the Cy Young that year. 3 World Series rings, 2 no-hitters. He holds the Giants franchise record for most games with 10 or more strikeouts. He has 29 games with 10 or more strikeouts, which beats out Christy Mathewson.
10-3 so far, 2.45 ERA. And look at the strikeouts, 168. That leads the National League.
Got him.
3 off-speed pitches. Grab some pine meat.
Got him. A career high in strikeouts for Lincecum. Got him. 15 strikeouts for Lincecum.
Blanco in center.
Blanco on the move. Side retired. Lincecum is going to go to the 9th inning without allowing anything more than a walk in this game. And they are on their feet here at AT&T Park for the little guy that they adore. 4-0 Giants.
People holding up their cell phone cameras to record the moment. Chewed out of the night. The 1-2 pitch. Curveball grounded to second. Panic's got it. The throw to first. It's a no-hitter. Tim Lincecum, who is mobbed by his overjoyed Giants teammates, has pitched his second no-hitter, and in the second consecutive year. He pitched one against these Padres last July, and not quite 1 year later, he does it again, this time here at home.
So really amazing, because the wheels fell off. In 2000, around 2012-ish, 2013, the wheels kind of fell off, and he lost velocity. Like, he used to be able to, what did he throw, 97? He could throw mid-high 90s.
Yeah. He had a few moments at the end, sprinkled a couple of no-hitters there. Toward the end.
Yeah, that was interesting. But, yeah, guys are hitting him. Like, I think with Nomo, too, they had the funky delivery, and then batters kind of figured it out.
Well,
I think.
yeah.
Yeah, and he just lost control, and he couldn't get the velocity back up on the fastball. So yeah, unfortunately, he had a lot of bad years.
Choose to remember those memories. I mean,
never happened.
Tim Lincecum should be in the Hall of Fame in my book. Back-to-back Cy Youngs, come on.
Yeah, no, he's done. He's done almost everything you could ask in a short amount of time. And even 2012, he had this amazing relief appearances in the World Series. Like, we're like, wait, what is
team player?
Yeah, so he's a cool guy. I mean, unfortunately, didn't have the amazing career for a long period of time. But yeah, so he's most people around here in that era. If you are a Giants fan, he's your guy. All right, so we're gonna go into position players now, and I'll let you take first pick here. Who do you want to talk about?
Position players. Wow. I'm really a Giants fan. All right. This guy, as you say, came up for a cup of coffee, right? But Jae-gyun Kwang. I'm pretty sure I butchered his name because I don't speak Korean. But Jae-gyun Kwang. This guy came over from Korea. I think he was a big star there, and he wanted to break into the major leagues. Came in for spring training. I want to say around 2015, 2014. I mean, it wasn't too long ago. I think he really charmed the beat writers with the choco pies. I remember one of the beat writers writing, "Hey, I've never had a choco pie before. This guy Wang, it's like loves these choco pies. He gave us one." And they started writing great things about him. And he didn't make the opening day roster, so he kind of stuck around the minor leagues, hoping for that call up. And sure enough, he gets called up in summer, June. The Giants are looking for a spark. He's a third baseman. First game, hits a game-winning home run. I go, oh, this is great. We're gonna not only we have an Asian on San Francisco again, but this guy might actually be good. And lo and behold, it was all downhill from then. He lasted another 2 months and ended up hitting like 180 or 170 toward Dan. And he had the kind of the Giants basically cut him. and went back to Korea. But for one shining moment, that was my favorite Giant, Jae-Kyung Kwon.
All right. You and maybe 10 other people. That's a cool pick. Well, okay, you went obscure. I'm gonna go obvious. Obvious. I'm gonna go Ichiro. Ichiro Suzuki, legend, right? He is a legend in 2 countries. Played for Japan, so he played for 8 years in Japan, and then came over to America in 2001. It was a big deal. They had to, fight for his contract too. They had to offer him a ton of money, or they had to pay out the other club, the Oryx Blue Wave. They had to pay a lot of money exchanged hands there, and like you said, it's got to be on the West Coast, somewhere on the West Coast, so the time zone isn't super ridiculous for folks in Japan. Though I heard that people would wake up 4 a.m. to watch a Mariners game. And so he came over in 2001, and he was not a power hitter, though he could hit a home run here and there. But man, did he have the hand-eye control? He could hit in any situation. He can make contact, and he had this amazing kind of a swinging bunt. He would start running towards first base as he's making contact with the ball. So he was halfway down the line. He was super fast. Like we said, he had the most stolen bases. Super defensive player too. A really good arm, like an amazing arm. And he's not a big guy. Like he's a smallish kind of guy and light, but super fast. Really, really skilled.
And the first pitch is swung on, hit well to right field. Backing up is Ichiro. He's at the wall. He looks up, he leaps, and he makes the catch. What a catch by Ichiro. Banging up against the right field wall, taking extra bases, possibly a home run away from Jeff Kent.
Red, that was absolutely incredible because he was twisting and he was turning as he got to the wall in straightaway right field. At the last second, he looked over his left shoulder, looked over his right shoulder, leaped up at the top of the wall, high in the air, and he made the catch. Holy smokes, he's amazing.
Here comes the 2-2 to Ichiro on the way. Swung on, line drive, base hit center field. There's number 262. My, oh my, what a way to cap off an unbelievable year. Ichiro, a bullet into center field for number 262. And that baseball is retrieved and will be brought back. 262 hits for Ichiro here in 2004. And there is our Magnolia moment.
And there's number 200. No doubt about it. 2 hard hit balls today by Ichiro. 10 consecutive years of 200 or more hits. Nobody's done that. That is outstanding. 10 years. 10 consecutive years of 200 or more hits. I mean, when it's some ridiculous. Records, it really is. Yeah. When you think of
in a row.
Wait a minute, 10 in a row?
Yeah, in a row.
And the rigors that you go through in a big league season?
Well, I mean, you really think about it. That you think of all the players that have played this game.
About 18,000.
Yeah, and here he sits there, 10 in a row. Nobody's done it, and he's for 10 200-hit seasons. He and Pete Rose now at 10.
Yep.
Let me give you a couple stats here. He played 28 seasons combined. 28 seasons. In both 9 in the Japanese NPB and then, what would that be, 19 in America. And he hit the single season record for the most hits with 262 hits in one season. And he also achieved 10 consecutive 200-hit seasons. His first 10 years in the MLB. 200 hits, man, in every season for 10 years. So he accumulated, if you add up both Japan and the United States, over 4,000 hits. That is amazing. 10 Gold Gloves, 10-time All-Star. Just an amazing player. Good guy, too. I think people just, think of him as a really good guy. He's willing to play for other teams, just get more playing time to get over some more stats. But he is just an amazing hitter. Mariners for a good 11 years, and then the Yankees for a couple, and then the Marlins. I almost forget about the Marlin years. But he played for a couple years for the Marlins. But yeah, everywhere he went, he produced. amazing defense and amazing hitting. You have any Ichiro memories? Well, you saw him in Japan.
Yeah, then that was toward the tail end. He was a superior athlete, but I always hoped that he would be the San Francisco Giant. I mean,
he'd be perfect.
The last time the All-Star game was in Pac Bell Park in San Francisco, Ichiro was the MVP, and right field is like a huge expanse in Pac Bell, and with his defense and the just spraying doubles, getting on base. I mean, and he was a free agent. I think there was talk about
he was
a free agent during that year, and we were trying to recruit him hard. I think in San Francisco with that All-Star game, but where did he do? Did he go back to? I guess he went back to.
He went to New York.
Okay, so and then he went back to the Mariners at the end, I guess.
Yeah, at the very end, a year with the Mariners, a year or two with the Mariners.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, no, that would have because AT&T or Oracle was not known as a home run hitter's park for right-handers, especially, and for anybody really.
Right.
But yes, his ball control, the way he could place the ball, he would have so many doubles and triples at AT&T. That would have been great.
Oh yeah, at the top of the lineup in front of Bonds.
Oh yeah. Forget about it.
Oh well. What could have been?
Oh well. Yeah, and it would just be a box office draw, right? To have an Asian player in San Francisco.
It kills me that the Dodgers continue to and they all the Asian players, they want to go to LA.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, I understand Shohei because I don't know if we talked enough about how amazing Shohei Ohtani is.
Oh, we're getting there. You're
getting there. Okay, but I mean, San Francisco needs to step it up in the recruitment of Asian players for sure.
We really do. Yeah. All right. Let's see. You want to talk about Godzilla here?
Godzilla, Hideki Matsui.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you break him down a little bit?
With the Yankees, the Yankees were big in the, especially post 9/11, you'd say.
Yeah.
But so Hideki Matsui, he had a little hitch as a left-handed hitter, and he had pretty good power, and the Yankees were really good during that period of time. So really easy to root for. And this is not, it's kind of baseball related. So he's a huge star also in Japan.
Right.
And so when you go to Tokyo to go check out baseball, Hideki Matsui has a chain, I think owns a chain of curry restaurants. Right. And when you go to a curry restaurant, Japanese curry restaurant in Tokyo, they're the kind where you go get a coin at a vending machine.
Mm-hmm.
And you sit at the counter, and depending on what coin you bought, which is the meal that you bought, you just slap it down on the counter, and then the waitress would come over and give you, whether a katsu curry or whatever that you decided to order. So it's a lot of fun to do that. So Hideki Matsui, he's got that chain of curry, and it's actually really good.
All right, pro tip.
Yeah.
When in Tokyo. So he was a giant. We can talk about he was a Yomiuri giant, but he was a giant.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. And I'll read your notes because I didn't do my research on Hideki Matsui. I mean, I just remember 10 years with the Giants, and he was a 9-time All-Star, and that was good enough to get him into the major leagues, and played for the Yankees in 7 years. Got a World Series ring. He was really good in that World Series. He hit .615, so that's 3 home runs, 8 RBIs,
and he only played in the American League game, so he only played 3 games in that World Series. So he put up those numbers in 3 games. That's pretty impressive.
I remember he had a great World Series. He also played for the Angels, and I didn't remember this, but now that you put it in the notes, he did spend a little time with the Oakland A's. So I
didn't remember that either.
he was local, and Tampa Bay got him as well. But Hideki Matsui, good guy.
Yeah, good numbers. And if I didn't have this on the notes here, would you be able to guess his age? He's only 47.
Oh. Well, you should. Maybe he's still playing in Japan at that.
He's got an old face. Like when he came up, he looked like he was 40. He has an older looking face, but I was shocked to find he's born in 1974. He's, only 47, but I would have thought he's older than me. But all right. I'm going to do this one real quick. Another Hawaiian, Colton Wong, still playing. Actually playing at a high level. Playing at a really high level. His dad played a little bit at USC and was in the minors, but then he had Colton, and he trained Colton from a young age. So Colton was playing baseball from a young age and was really dedicated. Went to the University of Hawaii. Got drafted in the first round by St. Louis, and the game that you were talking about with Travis Ishikawa, that series, that was his rookie year, 2014, and he had a great NLCS. He hit a couple home runs. He had a game winner in Game 2. Very solid, and he had a really good season just now for Milwaukee. He was on St. Louis for all those years. Really good second baseman, 2 Gold Gloves, Defensive Player of the Year in 2019, but really good second baseman, and solid.
He's still playing, right?
Yeah. Still playing.
Yeah, of course, yeah. He was still playing with Milwaukee.
Yeah, because he's a rookie in 2014, so he's 9 years now,
right?
But or less than that, no, 7-8 years. Yeah, so he's still going. I don't know how long. I think he signed a 2-year contract with Milwaukee, so Giants might need a second baseman. You never know.
Well, we definitely do.
Always could use depth. And then let's see. Let's end it off here by talking about the guy that we need to talk about right now, the man of the hour, Shohei Ohtani. Really in a class by himself, right? Of all players, not just of Asian players, of all players, because he's going to get the MVP. He could have got it in either league. And the reason he's so special, if you don't know, the reason he's so special is he plays both ways. He pitches at a high level, and he can crush the ball as a hitter. Super rare. Like, we've had players that can pitch and hit a little bit. Madison Bumgarner can hit a little bit. But this guy is a legit power hitter. Now, he was drafted he came over here in 2018, and, there's a lot of hoopla, but he's had some injuries, and he's never been able to really put it together until this year. He put both together, pitching and hitting, and stayed relatively injury-free on a bad Angels team. Like, the Angels are not very good. Mike Trout's been hurt. But he is a really good pitcher, so if you don't know much about stats, but he had a 9-2 record for 23 starts. He had an ERA of 3.18, again, so that means every 9 innings he's allowing 3 runs. And a whip of 1.09, basically a whip of 1, which means for every inning he allows either 1 walk or 1 hit per inning, which is really good for a starter to have a whip that low. And 156 strikeouts in 130 innings pitched. So like we said, anytime you're more than 1 strikeout per inning, you're doing something right. And that's just the pitching. So that would have been all-star performance as a pitcher. But he also was a hitter. He had 46 home runs. 46. That's a big number nowadays. How many did Tatis hit this year? Or
Tatis, I want to say
Guerrero
Ohtani.
Jr.?
Did Ohtani lead the league in home runs? I want to say it's pretty close. It might be. We'll have to look that up. I really should know my stats from this current season a little bit better. But there's no doubt about it. Ohtani is really one of a kind. You could legitimately say that there's never been a player in all of Major League Baseball history who's been able to be an elite pitcher and hitter at the exact same time.
Yeah. Babe Ruth comes to mind, but he was an elite pitcher, right? He was an amazing hitter.
He was an elite pitcher, but he didn't hit at the same, because you have the DH now. You see, you got to remember that. So when Babe Ruth was pitching, they didn't have the DH, so he could only hit every so often if he was pitching, and so they pretty much figured out that he was more valuable hitting, and so he stopped pitching after a while, and just basically exclusively hit all the time, right? So the DH is a little bit of a key to Shohei Ohtani's success, and I'm sure he thought about that because everybody was going after him. Can you imagine Ohtani with the Giants? Right? We were there with the millions of dollars trying to bid for him, and I think it came down to the Dodgers and the Angels, because he wanted to end up in LA, and he ended up with the Angels because he knew that he could hit and pitch and do that successfully with the DH.
Yeah, that makes sense. Who knows? Maybe the National League will have a DH, Joesten. Maybe.
Well, they are next year.
Yeah.
And if I'm Shohei Ohtani, get me out of the Los Angeles Angels organization.
Come on, man. Yeah. Come on up. We'll show you a good time.
After this podcast is over, I'm going to look up his contract status. So
yeah.
Let's see if we have a chance.
Let's send him some emails. So, once he's on, now that he's on this podcast, I think he's going to realize that SF's the place to be. Because I'm sure he listens. I'm sure he listens to this podcast.
Right. You have this translated in like 4 or 5 languages, Curtis?
Easily 4 or 5.
Ohtani crushes it to deep right field. Goodbye. Shohei going way back, right center, made the adjustment. And what a swing for Ohtani.
2-2, and there's a chase and a miss, and he got him on the splitter right there. And here's the pitch, and he swings and drives the ball deep into right center field. Showtime! First ball swinging. Ohtani, the hitter, hits one out of sight. It's 1-0 Angels. Wow.
There is nothing better than to help yourself at the plate, and Shohei on the mound says, you know what, I'm going to put a couple of runs on the board and take some pressure off these guys. This is a bomb, a laser beam. It is out as quick as it came in at 97 miles an hour.
Here's the 0-2 pitch, and that is a called third strike. He struck him out looking, so a couple more strikeouts for Shohei. He has set down 13 of the last 14 batters.
Yeah, but amazing season. I hope he stays healthy, too. I mean, if he can... I think it's going to be hard to do both forever. But for now, just enjoy it while you can, folks, because this is history. This is really... You don't see this ever.
Yeah.
So it's not
I mean...
It's not like a once-in-a-while thing.
It's a one-of-a-kind. I mean, I don't think in America, American baseball player, as you develop, I mean, they basically force you to take one side or the other.
From like middle school.
Yeah.
From middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, little league pitchers hit and hitters pitch, but once you hit high school, you're pretty much, well, college for sure. High school, they still kind of go both ways. But yeah, it's pretty rare because it's a craft. I mean, it's such a hard skill to develop, pitching or hitting. You have to kind of decide which one you want to work on, but he's just such a natural athlete. He's fast too. 26 stolen bases this year.
Right.
So he's fast. He's got all the tools. I mean, he could play any sport probably. If he put his mind to it, he's that gifted. Pure athlete and just a super nice guy too. All the interviews, so humble and just really seems nice and always has a smile on his face. Like people will throw at him and hit him with a pitch, or he'll throw at some guys and then they'll kind of yell at him. He's like, "Oh, sorry, my bad." I've never seen anyone like this before. And this is an elite player. Not cocky or in your face. He's seems like a gentle soul, but a fierce competitor. So it's really amazing. All right, well, you want to do your late breaking news here?
Late breaking news. Forever Giant, Tsuyoshi Shinjo.
Oh, man. Right now, anyone who watched the 2002 World Series just cringed a little bit. What's your late-breaking news?
Well, Tsuyoshi Shinjo, just to educate the non-Giants fans. Tsuyoshi Shinjo was a Japanese baseball player for the San Francisco Giants. And he actually played a pretty decent center field. He just couldn't hit. But he basically started for the majority of the season, all the way up until September, for a very, very good Giants team that made it to the World Series and in heartbreaking fashion lost it.
Game 7.
Well, Game 6 is where we really lost it. But we really had a chance still in Game 7, but the I guess the heart was broken already. But so Tsuyoshi Shinjo, I think, was the last guy up.
He's a pinch hitter.
I'm not really sure why Dusty pinch hit Shinjo for I think Pedro. Yeah, Pedro Feliz has a little bit more power. You'd think he'd be able to get. Maybe it was. I mean, I think Dusty might be one of those guys that just always plays the hunch,
the gut,
plays the, maybe you wanted to reward him for basically sticking it out for the entire year and getting put on the shelf, in the playoffs. So, but
didn't turn out well for us.
Struck out predictably. And but Shinjo is back in baseball.
Yeah,
Tsuyoshi Shinjo is he's talking about making a comeback. He's probably, now you're telling me that Hideki Matsui is only 47. I think Shinjo is probably around that age. And for a while there, he was saying he had actually a flamboyant personality, right? He would dress flamboyantly, and he was always kind of a fun-loving kind of guy. And I'm pretty sure he was the life of the party in his native Japan. But apparently he was joking about coming back to baseball, and people were thinking, no, you weren't really that good when you were playing. But it turns out he's back. But he's a manager now. He's not playing. He's a manager, but still back in baseball. Once you've got that baseball bug, if you can get a job in baseball, you can be in baseball forever. And he was just named the manager of the Nippon Ham Fighters.
Okay,
one of the teams in the Japan League, and I'll be rooting from afar for Shinjo.
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't mind having a Shinjo jersey. From 2002. You rock the jersey. That would be pretty cool.
Well, make sure you get the right size. I mean, one thing I learned when I was at the Tokyo baseball game. So I wanted a souvenir from the game, right? All right. And so opening day baseball, and they had T-shirts. That was the cheapest thing. But that's great. T-shirt. It says Tokyo on it. It says Major League opener, and the largest size was the large. Okay, and so I had to go with the larger size, and I'm not that big of a guy. I'm 6 feet.
You're pretty tall.
I'm pretty tall. I'm 6 foot tall. I mean, American size, right? And their largest size just did not fit me.
Did your wife get it? Did your daughter get it?
No, I still haven't. I think maybe when I get another 20 or 30 years, and I'm like 80 years old, and I start to shrivel,
get a little smaller.
Yeah, shrivel up a little bit. All of a sudden, the T-shirt will fit.
All right, yeah, hold on to that. Okay, so good to know. Get the extra large.
No, there is no extra large. So you can't get it. Large is the largest.
Oh man,
and large is like a medium here. So, good luck.
Man, what do big guys in Japan do? I guess they have to get customized stuff.
I don't know.
All right. Well, if there's anyone out there still listening to two baseball nerds talking, we hope you're still out there. But I hope you had fun with this episode. I learned something just doing the research. So hopefully y'all out there learned a little bit about Asians in baseball. We'll be back next week with our Eternals wrap-up. We're going to go, so it's November 1st right now. And then so we'll go see the movie this weekend. And then we'll come back and record it and report it back to you. So hopefully you'll come back for that. That does it for episodes number 4, side dish number 4. Thanks to my co-host Joesten, and thank you all out there for listening. As mentioned, if you have any comments give us a email about your favorite Asian baseball player if you got one. That'd be cool. You can write to us at infatuasianpodcast@gmail.com, or you can always message us at our Instagram or Facebook at The Infatuasian Podcast on Instagram. So I'll put all those details in the notes. More episodes coming soon. Like I said, you're going to see the Eternals one coming next. And then after that, we're going to do our sitcom episode. Finally, our sitcom episode coming. So check back when we drop that one in the end of November. And so follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Until then, on behalf of Joesten and myself, we hope you're all happy, healthy, and safe out there. Talk to you soon, and bye.